When today is unpredictable, you need sound advice and strong support to help you stay focused on your long-term financial goals for tomorrow. Together with an advisor from Rise Private Wealth Management, formerly Pell Wealth Partners, a private wealth advisor practice of Ameriprise Financial Services, you can plan your future while navigating your now. Ameriprise Financial has been guiding clients through challenging times for 130 years. You can take comfort in working with a financial advisor who's backed by that strong experience and who's there to guide you with personalized, goal-based financial advice. Call Rise Private Wealth Management today at 914-253-8800. That's 914-253-8800. Office is located at 800 Westchester Avenue, Suite 300 in Rybrook, New York, and 300 East 40th Street in New York City. Not FDIC or NCUA insured. No financial institution guarantee. May lose value. Securities offered by Ameriprise Financial Services, LLC. Member FINRA and SIPC. Welcome to Leadership Unleashed, the show that will explore the multifaceted world of leadership through insightful interviews, thought-provoking discussions, and practical advice from leaders throughout Westchester County and beyond. I'm your host, Dr. Marsha Gordon, President and CEO of the Business Council of Westchester. Join us on today's episode as we dive into the motivating and incredible leadership journey of Geri Pell, private wealth advisor and co-founder of Rise Private Wealth Management. We are so proud to have Westchester Medical Center as a premier sponsor of the Leadership Unleashed podcast. Thank you. So, Geri, before we begin, please tell the audience a little bit about yourself and Rise Private Wealth Management.
Hello, Marsha. How are you today?
I'm great.
Thank you for having me. So I have been fortunate enough to be in this business of helping people achieve their financial goals and kind of like peace of mind for 39 years. I started 39 years ago building a business with no clients. And
You must have started when you were 10 years old, Geri.
12, yeah. So, I went into the business because I wanted to help people. I had a career in corporate finance before that, but it wasn't really making a difference in people's lives. And I really wanted to help people. There's a saying that this is the right business for you if you have the mind of a capitalist and the heart of a social worker. And boy, have we been going through some volatile times. So I started the firm in 1986, and last year in 2024, I decided to merge with another large Ameriprise franchise named Rise Private Wealth Management, and now we have a wonderful team of fantastic people.
And you've always had fantastic people, but I know that this has been a very exciting time for your company and really takes great leadership and great vision to take this next step for your company and for your clients. And we know that, as you said, we're going through periods of extreme volatility in the market. So as a financial advisor, how do you lead your firm through such uncertain and rapidly changing environments?
So I think what I'd like to focus on from a leadership point of view is less about, the investment, how you pick investments, but the way you lead 30 financial advisors and 90 people in a company, which is the following: calling an all hands on team meeting and making sure that everybody in the company's head is in the right place. Having lived through this since 1986, starting off 1987 was, a big retraction in the market. I have to center the team on reality, help them control their emotions, and help them understand what clients are really thinking. It's important, secondly, to have a playbook and to execute that flawlessly. Like, for example, last week, in reaction to the week before, on Friday night, we set up webinars really quickly where we were able to get them out to clients, be online with clients, answering questions, tell them what we're thinking, and really helping people to understand the certainty of uncertainty and that the markets hate uncertainty and what's going on.
Well, guiding your clients is really what it's all about, right? So
that's what leadership is about, right?
Absolutely.
Whether leading your people or leading your clients. So We canceled all our non-essential meetings to allow the space for advisors to proactively call our clients, calling panicked clients. I think a lot of leadership, Marcia, is having people watch me and then me watch the advisors and then confirm that they're doing it right, inserting yourself where you can and just really leading by demonstration and example.
And I've often heard you say, Geri Pell, that when done well, financial planning and investment management can be a healing modality. Can you explain what that means to you and how it plays out in your work?
So, what it means to me is that I want people's shoulders to drop and to say, oh, I was so stressed out before, and now I'm not worried anymore. And I think, particularly now, the question is that it's not what's happening to my money tomorrow, it's will I run out of money before I run out of life? And if you've done a good financial plan with a financial advisor and you've assessed your probability through a Monte Carlo simulation, when we do probabilities and we look at retirement for people, we assume that there will be recessions. We know that there will be retractions in the market. You can't live another 30 years and not have any of those things happen. So it's regrounding people in those things so that they say, oh, Geri, I remember now what you told me. The stories I have, Marsha, now people call me every day going, I remember what you told me in 2008. Because this is the thing, everybody's saying this is like, it's never been like this before. And nothing is ever exactly like it was before. But when the planes crashed into the World Trade Center, it was never like anything before. 2008, the perfect storm was like nothing ever before. The Civil War was like nothing was ever before.
Well, you have certainly not been around since the Civil War, but you have been around, and I know you have longstanding clients. And I think that's the key to the retention, the incredible retention and loyalty of your clients, even as you shift and grow your own business, because they know that they've been through it with you before, and that you provide that constance and that leadership.
And I think you're right. And I think the important thing is that the leadership needs to come from the top. So because me and my partner, Tony, for example, Tony Rizzuto, he has 37 years of experience. It's one thing for someone to get on a chief investment officer with facts, but we have to talk to the real questions that the clients are asking and the emotions that they're feeling.
And you do that, and your team does that so very, very well. Both when you were Pell Wealth, and now at Rise, you are so good at that, and people count on you for your guidance, including the Business Council of Westchester. So thank you. By the way, you're listening to the BCW Podcast Network. This is Leadership Unleashed, and we will be right back.
A lot goes into planning a birthday. For my daughter Cameron, it started with a stem cell transplant to cure her sickle cell disease. Yes, cure. Westchester Medical Center Health Network uses every technology, technique, and talented specialist to conquer diseases that could otherwise rob a child of childhood, helping my daughter and thousands of others at Maria Ferreri Children's Hospital. Happy birthday, Cameron.
Happy birthday.
WMC Health, advancing care here.
We are back on the BCW Podcast Network. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking all about leadership with Geri Pell, private wealth advisor and co-founder of Rise Private Wealth Management. So, Geri, you've been leading and growing a financial services firm, again, as you said, for the past 39 years. What are some of the most important leadership lessons you've learned, and how have you applied them during the years?
So the first thing I learned in terms of self-leadership was that the difference between a dream and a goal is that something's a goal if you're willing to do what it takes to make it happen.
That's
And
interesting.
otherwise, just let it go. So for example, if I want to lose 15 pounds by my high school reunion, but I'm not willing to exercise more or eat less, it's a dream. And I need to psychologically give that up. If it's a goal, make a plan, stick to the plan, ask someone to hold you accountable. Accountability is everything in leadership. tracking, managing that and leading people to where they want to get to.
I'm going to repeat that. Accountability is everything in leadership. I love that. I think I'm going to put that up on my wall.
Another thing that I learned from one of my mentors, like really early on, Marsha, was something called the bucket theory, which is that in life, there are things you can control, things you can influence, and things you can't do anything about. You spend 90% of your time on things you can control, 10% on things you can influence, and just let everything else go if you can't control it. A really good example of that was, and I raised my kids on this theory, when my older son, Ben, used to whine because it was raining outside and he wanted to go outside and play, I'd say, "What bucket is that?" And he'd say, "You're right, it's third bucket. I'll go find some Legos." Because he can't control the rain.
That's a really good example, especially during spring break, when some parents and grandparents are facing that. Now, after many years with Pell Wealth Partners, you made the decision to merge your firm with Rise Private Wealth Management last year. That was a big decision. What went into that decision, and how did you lead your team and your clients through such significant change?
So I spent 2 to 3 years doing due diligence, finding the right team to merge with. And so let me first say the reason for the merger was that I knew we were big, I knew we were good, but we needed more expertise in certain areas for our clients. And I had expertise to add to other companies as well. So I wanted to find that merger, and also knowing that as I said, 39 years in the business, I'm not going to be around forever. I want the right CEO to lead the company in the future. That our new CEO, Brent, is only 47 years old. So we want to be here for our clients' grandchildren's grandchildren's grandchildren.
That's wonderful.
So that we have that legacy was really important to me. How did I prepare the team for it? I involved them in the decision making. I got a lot of feedback from them. We interviewed companies together. I think it was really important that that's the person I asked, collaborative.
That's transparency, right? I was talking to another small business the other day, and they were saying very, very, very different business, a trades business, but they were saying the key to their success is transparency with their employees and with their clients, and that's what you're saying.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Marsha. And it's also about taking people through the change curve, because people go through a natural change curve, which is, they start with fear, and then they go through rejection, and they go through emotion, and then they go to acceptance, and then they go to excitement. So not unlike, the 5 stages of death or whatever, but people have to go through that change curve. You have to recognize where your people are, meet with them individually, ask how they're doing, and really make sure that everybody's okay. In terms of the clients, this was a win-win-win for the clients. So I used email communications, letters. We called all of the clients personally to explain what was happening and say, very importantly, here's what won't change. Your broker-dealer, your statements, your financial advisor, the people that you work with day to day, here's what will change. More resources, better service queue, whatever.
So it was win-win.
I think it was win-win-win. Yeah.
Yes, that's great. And one standout feature of Rise Private Wealth Management, and I know this is important to you, Geri Pell, is that nearly half of your advisors are women, compared to an industry average of less than 20%. Why is this representation important, and how have you cultivated a culture that supports this?
The representation is important. This is a really interesting statistic. Between now and 2030, $34 trillion will be inherited by women. And so women in wealth is a really, really big topic. Women prefer to have a collaborator and a confidant, rather than sometimes the way that men prefer to work. There's no right, there's no wrong, there's different personality styles. I find that a lot of women making financial decisions alone, or most, I would say, ask for a female financial advisor. So given that the industry is only 20%, we really want to work hard on bringing women in. We have 3 women in Westchester. We've got, another 15 or so around the country, along with my 4 men that are in Westchester. We've got, a lot of advisors. The men are fantastic too, but you have to meet people where they want to be. You know that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're listening to the BCW Podcast Network, Leadership Unleashed, and we will be right back.
This is the coming home you dream about.
But getting here was unimaginable.
At 25 weeks, I was hemorrhaging badly, losing amniotic fluid. Fortunately, I was taken to Westchester Medical Center, where they have the most advanced care in the Hudson Valley for high-risk pregnancies and premature babies. And because we were there, now we're here.
WMC Health, advancing care here.
Welcome back to the BCW Podcast Network. This is Leadership Unleashed. Geri Pell and I have been having a great conversation about navigating market uncertainty, financial empowerment, and many other powerful leadership lessons. Geri, self-leadership is equally as important as leadership to others. What has your journey been like shifting from the role of CEO and primary decision maker to being part of an executive leadership team? And what have you learned during this process about self-leadership, and who supports and guides you through change and growth?
Well, I'll start with the last one first, which is easy. I have an amazing coach whose name is Ray Sclafani, who I've been working with for 15 or 20 years. And I think that having a coach is really important. I think we're talking about leadership. So I learned early on that there's mentorship, there's consulting, and there's coaching. People probably know what mentorship is. Consulting is when people come in to solve a problem. Real true coaching with a master certified coach is all the answers are already inside of me or inside of whomever. A good coach helps bring out those answers and helps you think things through. The journey to go from a CEO, the person who made all the decisions and was the final say, to working on an executive team, I'd be lying if I'd say that for anyone, it's not going to be challenging. I think my self-leadership has been around what's the balance that I got. Now I work 3 days a week. I have more vacation time. There are certain things that I don't ever have to do again, like operating agreements, compensation plans, things that are not in my purview. And it allows me to focus on what gives me energy every day and what turns me on, which is working with clients, doing public speaking, messaging out to the community, things like that.
So looking back on your journey, what has taught you about this leadership and legacy?
Legacy is so important to me, Marsha, because I care so much about the clients. And I guess what I want to say about that is that I look at this like the analogy is a medical practice. So we do something called demonstrate, observe, and confirm. So when I train advisors, I demonstrate what to do, then I observe them doing it, and I confirm them doing it. And I won't leave the room until I can look at them and say, as if they were a plastic surgeon, whoa, your stitches are better than mine. So now I can leave the room. So that's the key to building a really strong team. People very, very frequently demonstrate, but they forget to observe or confirm. Those are the harder parts.
Very interesting. And Geri, I know you have a passion about preparing parents who want to raise financially independent children. Any personal stories or lessons from your own family experience? What thoughts and advice do you have for these parents?
Thank you for answering that. I hope my kids listen to this. My kids always tell me I'm only famous at Ameriprise, but maybe they'll think I'm famous at the BCW too.
You are famous at the BCW, absolutely.
Or they say, Ma, you're only famous in Westchester. Anyway, I have some great stories to tell about this. So when my older son was 10, he started complaining that all of his friends got more allowance than he did. And the truth is, with allowance, if you're giving a kid $1, $2, whatever allowance, you usually forget. They're like, you didn't pay me last Sunday. And you're like, I don't remember whether I did that or not. So I said, you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. If you think everyone else is getting more allowance, I'm going to give you $1 for every year old you are. So $10 a week. That was up from $1. But I'm only going to buy you a birthday present and a holiday present. So I'm going to give you $10 a week. And then I took at the time, you could do it on a computer now, but at the time I took an Excel spreadsheet. I made 52 vouchers of $10. And I said, here they are. These are like bearer bonds. If you lose these, the money's gone. You have to be responsible enough to keep them, and you can give them to me when you want something. The first week, we were in FAO Schwartz in the Westchester, and he wanted something. And I said, okay, do you want to use your money? And he looked at me and he said, let's go to Toys R Us. Maybe it's on sale.
That was a good lesson.
Yeah, the bigger lesson is that I said to him, you can use them or not use them, and you can save them. When he went to college 8 years later, he pulled out $2,500 worth of vouchers from the bottom of his closet to buy a car.
Wow. That's a great story.
Now, what he learned there was with budgeting, and I think the even more important story is that people always ask me, my kid is going to college. How much money should I give them? How do I give them money? Do I put it in their bank account? Blah, 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 blah. And I say, if you've raised a financially savvy kid enough, what you want to do is, let's say that there's 13 weeks in a semester, so it's 2 semesters, 26 weeks. If your budget is $100 a week, say to them, I'm going to put $2,600 in your checking account on September 1st. You run out by November, that's your problem. You have extra, you can have extra for the next year, and let them figure out how to budget that money, and don't ever give them any more.
What great advice, especially that last line. It's really, really good advice. It's hard to do, but it's the right thing to do.
And I have raised kids that are really financially healthy, and I'm glad about it. And they don't carry debt. They understand how to spend their money. Yeah.
I know you have, and I know you are very committed because I've seen seminars and webinars that you've done for young adults and for their parents, and I think even for grandparents when you did. And
yeah, we do, but yeah, the kid one is called Boot Camp for 20-somethings. And it's like, what's a 401k? How do you open a checking account? How do you get a credit card? What kind?
That's great.
Very important.
Geri, before we wrap up, what advice would you offer to aspiring leaders who are listening today?
I would love to fit in, Marsha, that I would love more leaders in the financial planning industry, men, women, whomever, and if you're listening and you're interested in the most rewarding career there can possibly be, because you go home knowing that you've helped people and changed their lives, please feel free to reach out to me.
Great. And where should they reach you again, Geri?
They can reach me at, my website is geripell.com. So that's pretty easy.
Very easy. Okay.
Or at Rise Private Wealth Management.
Wonderful. And we certainly know at the Business Council of Westchester how to reach Geri Pell. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Be sure to check out the BCW Podcast Network's expansive lineup of shows. Leadership Unleashed, What's Trending, Advocacy and Politics Unplugged, The Member Spotlight, and Nonprofit Voices of Impact. The Business Council of Westchester is the county's largest business membership organization focusing on economic development and advocacy. With over 1,100 members, it is our mission to work for the profitability of our members and the prosperity of the Westchester community. To learn more, go to thebcw.org.